DreAllDay.com.
What's up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. So we get into the next part of this diet and nutrition series. I'm talking about some of the lifestyle changes I made as far as what I eat. Some people may ask me about eating meat. Now, I know in the first video, which was a couple weeks back, I talked about how I had eliminated all the red meat out of my diet, and the only thing I was still eating, meat-wise, was chicken. Boneless, skinless chicken, like chicken breast, chicken tenders, stuff like that, but not fried, no breadcrumbs, no skin, none of that. Now, as far as eating meat goes, actually up to right now, I'm continually making changes. I've slowly changed over from where I was to where I am now. I made a few big changes at the beginning, then I'm slowly making some other changes, mostly trying to eliminate dairy products from my diet, because all dairy products come from milk, and the milk is coming from other animals besides humans. And I talked about that in part 1. If you didn't watch the part 1 video, go back and watch that so you can hear everything I said about that. Dairy products, the last thing was eggs, which I don't really like eggs, so I never ate eggs that much anyway, but anything that contains eggs, so you got to read the labels and the ingredients of the food that you consume so you know what it is you're putting in your body. Another thing was cheese. Now, cheese I still do eat. I think I might hang on to eating cheese for a little while more. I don't know if I'm going to eliminate it or not, but we'll see. But cheese is one thing I still do eat. But as far as meats, I have not eaten any chicken. Now, I'm not going to say that I'll never eat chicken again, but I think for right now, I'm not eating any chicken. So, well, I know for right now I'm not eating chicken, but I think for the foreseeable future, I'm going to see how I feel when I start going without chicken. Now, this is the thing about eating meats. That's what this video is about. The reason that I stopped eating meat is, I don't know how many of you have watched any documentaries, but I watched one documentary. It was called Food Incorporated, Food Inc. It basically talks about the meat business in America, basically our food business, which is a huge business, the agricultural business of people that basically they have farms where they raise animals, cows, goats, pigs. Cows and chickens is the two main things. We'll just focus on those two. The cows, of course, the red meat, where we get steak, hamburgers, stuff like that, and chicken, any kind of chicken that you eat. There are big, huge farms all across America where people raise these animals for the sole purpose of killing them, chopping them up into meat, and then selling them to you in the supermarkets and in the restaurants that we eat. And that's where most of our money goes. As far as, eating meats in America, most of the meat that gets eaten in this country are animals that were raised for the sole purpose of being killed and chopped up for food. So those animals never actually live a regular life. Like, when you drive in like somewhere scenic outside of a city and you see, or maybe even inside some cities, and you see cows out there just grazing, eating grass. They got this big open space to walk around and, just do what cows do. Those farms in that documentary, they don't have that space. Those cows are raised in a space that's basically big enough for them to stand up in. A fully grown cow, they can't even turn around. Like, the space that they live in is so small that the cow couldn't even turn around and face the other direction if they wanted to. That's how small that space is, and they live like that. Like, the entire life that they live, however long that is, that's all they get, is that one little space there to stand. Now, a chicken, think about chickens, how small a chicken is. And the chicken is skinnier, so it's easier for them to turn around. They get put in a box that is so little. It's like if you ever go to a pet store where they have dogs and cats, and you know how they have those little small boxes, those small cubes for each dog. It's like that, but even smaller because it's for a chicken. And they'll stuff like a bunch of chickens into one of those coops together. Then the next coop will have a bunch of chickens in there, and a bunch in the next one, and a bunch in the next one. So those chickens never even get to walk around freely. They never even learn how to flap their wings because the space is so tight. The only purpose that the person who raises the chicken has is to raise that chicken till they're old enough or plump enough or whatever their standard is to kill that chicken and then, sell it to the companies that sell you chicken. Purdue, the supermarkets that you buy their chicken from, the restaurants, they buy their chicken from the same place that you get yours in the supermarket. They buy it in bulk so they can save money, and then they sell a whole bunch of it at a markup. That's how they make their money. And all these farms, they make big money by raising these animals. They mass produce them like that, because if you raise them in that small space, you think about it, if you had, let's say you had 10 cows, and you got this really huge farm, if you let those 10 cows live as normal cows live, that farm can hold about 10 cows. That's as much space as it can house for a normal life cow. But let's say you decide you want to raise them in bulk. With that big space, you can maybe raise 100 cows. That's 10 times the money. That you live a shorter life because you kill them as soon as they're ready to be killed for eating. So you're not letting them live a life where they just live normally. Maybe they mate, maybe they have, little calves and things like that. As soon as they're big enough to be killed, you just kill them, get rid of them, and then bring the next one in. And I remember watching a documentary at the end of it, because the main thing with the documentary is it tries to touch you emotionally. It's not only hitting you with the facts, because a lot of us know the facts, but it's the emotional chord that it touches you at the end. It showed one of the farmers, because they really had to be heartless, dealing with these animals, because they know what they're raising them for, just the purpose of killing them. It was a cow who had lived his whole life in such a small area that it never even learned how to walk. It couldn't even stand up. It never had an opportunity to use its legs. The only purpose that the farmer cared about for the cow was that it ate the right foods, these certain chemicals and things that they give the cows to eat. Once they kill them and then we eat it, we're eating unnatural ingredients. So most cows just live off what? Grass. Cows just eat grass. A normal life cow that's not being raised as a mass-producing food for us to eat. They eat grass, but they feed these cows in these mass production farms. They feed them things that are not natural. And then when we eat that cow, we're eating the things that are not natural. So off on a tangent there, another thing what happens, actually to finish the story with the cow never learned how to walk. So this guy at the end of the film, he's poking this cow with a stick to get the cow to move because the cow never learned how to walk. So those are the kind of things that go on. And mind you, this is a hidden camera documentary. So this is just what they were able to catch on camera. So you can imagine what goes on behind the scenes, the things that you don't see on camera. And then you have chickens, the same thing. I had a friend who told me they were driving on the road and you ever see one of those big trucks with a bunch of chickens in it that they're about to take to kill because they got so many in the back. And one of the chickens was almost falling off the truck. It was just hanging on by a wing. But they all know, people talk about with the animals. Animals are not, they're not as complex brain-wise as we are humans. But they know when they're being killed. They know when they're in a slaughterhouse and all the animals in front of them are getting murdered. They can smell the blood. They can see the death. They can hear the sounds of their fellow animals getting killed. So when you eat food like that, you're putting death into your body. You're putting an animal into your body that knew it was being killed. It suffered pain when it was being killed. It basically was tortured and it never got to live a normal life. So when we eat those animals, those chickens, those cows, we're putting not only the unnatural ingredients that they were fed during their lives, we're putting death into our body. You're eating a dead animal when you eat a piece of chicken. You're eating a dead animal when you eat a hamburger. The animal was killed already. When you eat something like a fruit, a vegetable, grains, those are alive. Fruit is alive. Remember I talked about in another video how the guy in the Super Size Me movie put the fries down and nothing happened to him because it was nothing alive in those fries. It's not even real food. But if you take a banana, for instance, and you to eat bananas, you buy them from the supermarket, you know what happens if you eat bananas sitting for 4 or 5 days. They start to get brown. They start to go bad because they're decomposing, because those bananas are alive. Fruit is alive. An apple, grape, any kind of fruit you buy, you only got a few days to eat it before it starts to go bad because it's alive. Same thing with like rice, quinoa, lentils, any kind of grains, vegetables, the same thing. Those things are alive. So when you eat that stuff, instead of putting death into your body, you're putting life into your body. And that's something that I heard someone talking about that had opened a juice bar. They started juicing because their juices, they were putting live stuff into your body. So why would you want to put something dead in your body, something that was raised for the sole purpose of being killed, that has a lot of chemicals that are unnatural? You're putting all that stuff right into you. Instead, why don't you eat something that's alive? So you're putting some life into yourself. When you put life into yourself, you're going to get life out of yourself. And another thing with the red meat, there was a time even before I started to make this changeover that I would eat red meat and I wouldn't really feel right. I would start to feel a little bit low, a little bit sluggish. My energy would be a little bit down because that meat, it kind of weighs down on you, that red meat. It's heavy. And like I said, it's death. Once you start thinking about it that way, it's not anything that you can measure or anything like that, but when you're thinking about it, you're putting something that was dead into your body. It's a different feeling than when you're putting something that was alive into your body. But that's just the way I think. That's my opinion on that food. And that's the reason why I stopped eating meat, because I didn't want to put death into my body. I don't want to eat something that was raised for the sole purpose of being killed. And I can sustain myself, live, and be just as healthy, have just as much, big muscles and run and jump and be an athlete eating grains. So one thing about eating meat, main reason most people eat meat, especially athletes, is that we need the protein. So the question next is, where do you get the protein from, Dre, if you're not eating meat? So there are a couple sources. Number one, I still eat my protein shakes. I talked about that in the previous video. So get the protein powders. I talked about that in a couple videos. Just search it. I talked about it. Another way to get protein is you get protein from different foods. I'm not really eating fish either, because fish is another animal that, fish suffers pain when it gets killed. So I don't want to eat anything that had to go through pain to be killed in order for me to consume it for my purposes. I can eat other things that don't go through any pain, like a banana or apple or these rice grains, things like that, that can give me the same nutrients that I need. Two foods. Quinoa is one. That's quinoa, if you haven't heard of it, it's spelled Quinoa. Look it up. It is high in carbs. It's also high in protein. Another food is called lentils. Lentils. You can look that up also. High in carbs, high in protein. Black beans is another food. Rice I eat a lot of. Of course, vegetables I talked about. Fruits I talked about. Still a little bit of cheese. Any kind of pastas, it'll be brown rice or whole grain. Same thing with breads, bagels, things like that. No added sugar stuff. And I think that's it. So I just wanted to cover eating meats. Like I said, there's a lot of antibiotics and biotics and vitamins and stuff that the animals are fed. Then we eat them. And what happens is, a lot of humans, when we grow up eating this meat, we actually hit puberty earlier than a normal human is supposed to, because we're eating these, let me explain it. The farmers feed the cows. Let's just talk about cows. They feed the cows certain things that will make the cows grow faster. And that makes sense, right? They want the cows to grow faster and get big and ready to be killed faster, because the faster they can get those cows out of there, the faster they can bring in more cows. Every time they kill a cow and get that meat, they make money. So they want to make it go as fast as possible. So instead of letting the cow grow normally, they feed them things that will make them grow faster. Unnatural elements that will make the cow grow faster. Kill the cow, sell it to us, we eat it. So now we have those things in our body making us grow faster than we're supposed to. So you get humans, teenagers, kids hitting puberty earlier than they are supposed to. That's where you get a lot of kids. Say you got a 10-year-old kid that's so tall, so big, and so strong, so fastly developed, because he's eaten these things unknowingly that has made his body grow faster than it's supposed to grow. But it happens to all of us, because we all been eating this stuff. A lot of this information is new stuff. Because nowadays we live in an information age where all the information about all these things that we never knew about, it was all behind closed doors. The curtain has been removed, and all this information is out there. And I talk about that every time. Like anything you want to know that I've touched on in this video, all you got to do is look it up. There's plenty of information. There are websites, there are videos, there are books, there are documentaries, people who will go on and on talking about this stuff that know a lot more about it than I do. So all you got to do is look it up. So these are the kind of things that happen with us kids. Like I said, eating things that are unhealthy, things that we don't even know what they are, put them into our body, put death into our body. So that's why I stopped eating meat. So hopefully that covers it completely. I know I went over a couple things more than once there, but that's that. If I do need to cover another topic as far as diet and lifestyle, ask a question. If you got any questions that I haven't covered in these 3 videos so far, let me know, and I will cover it in another video talking about diet and lifestyle. Hit that thumbs up to like this video too, because I've been talking for a long time. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.
Block Reishi from Chicago. Work on your game.